Hi everyone, and a warm welcome to today's episode of the Releasing the Real You show, where I invite guest speakers for a chat about lots of different subjects that relate to health, wellness, weight loss, and well-being in general. So I'm really excited because today I have a very, very good friend of mine, Rakhee Shah, here as a guest. And Rakhee is a holistic fertility therapist. It's something that is really close to her heart. And we're going to dive into what she does. But in big terms, she helps women and men to prepare their bodies for bringing babies to life, be it through a natural way or through IVF. But I'm sure that we're going to get into that in a lot more depth during our chat. So warm welcome, Rakhee. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
So tell me a little bit about you yourself, what you do, and more importantly as well, why you do what you do.
Sure. So I'm Rakhee. I am an award-winning holistic fertility therapist. I help couples maximize their chances of conception where they've been struggling with trying to conceive, or they've had repeated miscarriages, or they've been told IVF, they've had IVF and IVF just hasn't worked for whatever reason for them. I got into this because I went through the whole infertility journey myself, ourselves, I should say, and ours was a male factor issue. So it was sperm issue. So it wasn't technically a female thing, but obviously it's a joint thing that you go through. And literally went to doctors, sperm issue, IVF is your answer, got just literally sent to the fertility clinic, and that was it. No other okay, this is why it may be, or this is what you can do, or let's look at this, or any of that sort of stuff. So we went to the fertility clinic and confirmed, male factor, put you on the waiting list for IVF, and then we'll just see then. And that was it. That was the end of it. That was nothing else, to do with it. And then I had already qualified as a holistic therapist. So my background is IT, but I took holistic therapy just as a pastime, absolutely loved it. And then thought, right, I'm going to see how this can help us with the fertility journey. Now, bearing in mind that 15, 16 years ago, it was just all acupuncture, very little about massage, reflexology, nutrition, all of that sort of stuff. And we did the holistic journey, and I'm so glad that I did. I learned so much about myself, food, emotions, gut health, really helped balance hormones, my cycles. We still needed IVF, but I put it down to that had we not done that work, I don't think the IVF would have worked, because our bodies just would not have been in the stage that we needed them to be. So that spurred me on to work with couples who were going through it, because we had a really dark journey. No one knew what was going on. We were the first in the families to be going through that. So no one understood, what was going on. And, you'd get the general comments, and I've done it myself, but now I know I'd never do it to other people, is, oh, just relax. Oh, what you're worrying about, it'll happen. You're still young. And they're the comments you so don't want to hear when you're on this journey. So for me, it was like, what emotional support can I give to my clients? Yes, we'll do the physical side, but when you're going through that, the emotions start to weigh up far more than the physical. So that's what got me into this. And, I'm very lucky that my IVF worked. I have almost 14-year-old twins. But like I said, I don't think that my IVF would have worked if we hadn't gone through that journey, because although we were classified as male factor, what I know now, I'm like, oh, I had that, but no one looked into it because it was classic male factor. Okay, that's it. That's all we're going to focus on. So that's what got me into it.
Very interesting. So do you feel that the conventional medicine, obviously IVF, etc., is fantastic? It's a great opportunity for people to have babies when they wouldn't normally be able to have some. But do you think that there's lots of things that are overlooked when it comes to conventional medicine?
Hugely, absolutely hugely. And my clients are a testament to that. So with the work that I've been doing with my clients over the last 8 years, I would say probably 25% of who've come to me who've said they need IVF have actually worked with me, gone on to have their baby naturally, because we've found the missing pieces of the puzzle and worked on it. So like I said, IVF, brilliant. If there is a huge struggle and the egg and sperm aren't meeting, or implantation just isn't happening, there is a place for it. But before then, if you've got like gut health issues or menstrual issues or emotional, like past trauma or something like that, IVF is not going to fix that. It's not going to help you with that journey, because you're not working on the problematic areas that are the reason as to why you're not conceiving in the first place. So yeah.
So what you're saying is it could be a physical issue, could be a hormonal issue, or a mental issue. Are those the three things that you generally see the most when it comes to people that come to you? What are the big things that you see are the problems that people are dealing with?
So menstrual, definitely. If you've got conditions like PCOS, endometriosis, fibroids, they are what I call as inflammatory conditions. So they create inflammation around the womb, and it's not the ideal environment for conception to take place in. So it's working on releasing those. Then there is sperm issue. There's I could go on and on about sperm and stuff, but there just isn't enough research or testing, especially if you're going via the NHS, to show that there is even if it's a minor sperm issue, it's still a sperm issue. And I've got clients to go on to further deeper testing. It's private testing which has shown that there is a sperm problem, and then clients be like, oh my god, why did the doctors not pick up on that? NHS, as much as it's good, it's tied because of lack of funding, and so there is a place for it, but it doesn't do full. So do your own research and get like proper sperm testing done. Then gut health. If you've got like IBS or hormonal imbalances, PMT, they will all play a part into your conception journey. Not always, but it can do. So there's a mix of things that will have an effect, and they're the things that I see a lot of. And I think one of the biggest things I see is clients think they eat healthily, but actually they don't.
I see that as well. So I totally agree with you on that one. So when it comes to, let's start with the hormonal issues. You mentioned PCOS, you mentioned endometriosis, and fibroids. Obviously some of them can be helped in a way, and some are there because they won't disappear just like that. But what can someone do to alleviate those issues, to enable them to pregnancy?
So if you are presenting with those, or PMT, or even thyroid issue, because thyroid has a big part to play as well, some of the biggest things I ask clients to do are, and for some it may seem a drastic change, but it does work. The first thing I request is cut out the wheat. So cut out your breads, your biscuits, your pastas, all of that. And it doesn't mean then that you go for the gluten-free options either, because so many of them are processed. But I'm not requesting the client to cut out gluten. It literally is just the wheat element. So there's a difference. Unless you have major IBS issues or celiac, or whatever, then yes, gluten affects you. But this isn't about removing the gluten, it's the wheat component, because we as a nation tend to have toast at breakfast, sandwiches at lunch, and then pasta at dinner, and you're just like carb overload. That too many carbs, the sugar rises, it adds to the inflammation. Then cow's milk. I find that for some people, the drinking and using of cow's milk also adds to inflammation. And if your husband or the male partner is someone who snores, they should absolutely cut out the milk because of the mucus forming and stuff. But this, again, you don't necessarily have to cut out the yogurt and the cheese and all of that, but it's the raw element of the cow's milk. So if you're pouring it on your cereal or in your tea or that sort of stuff, you may have to cut out the cheese and stuff. Again, depends on your inflammation, but they're the two big things I do request clients to omit, and they note huge differences. Then people are scared and I think you may find this as well, to eat good fats.
Yes.
And, you know, avocados, nuts, seeds, eggs. I even like, because my client base is a lot of Indians, ghee. I say to clients, use the ghee. Your hormones need the fat to function.
Well, the same with weight loss. You need fat to lose fat, which is, you know, often overlooked, and often, you know, as you say, people are scared of fat because of, you know, the processed fat that is in so many things. And so we've been told that fat is bad, but actually when it comes to natural fat, it is so good, so important to feed your body, really.
It is. And the classic example is like the NHS, unfortunately, goes by BMI. Now, BMI, you know, can be a good thing, can be a bad thing. Some people's BMIs are naturally higher because they're built. Some people's are higher because of, you know, the fat content and stuff. So the NHS will say, right, your BMI is too high, come back when you've lost some weight and then we'll do it. Now, people going through a fertility journey are so vulnerable. They will go through extreme weight loss exercises, like food, whatever. And that extreme weight loss in a really incorrect way can do more damage to your hormones than it can like be a positive side. So this is where the fat element, if you're trying to lose weight, fat element is so important. And don't, you know, I sometimes think you can't be on you can and you can't be on a weight loss journey and a fertility journey. You've got to do it in such a safe way that it helps both, but you can't just go in.
You should be on a healthy eating journey as such, which as a byproduct will help you lose weight and also, you know, help you with your hormonal balance as well, definitely.
And the other thing with the hormones and those conditions is, again, you need to make sure your bowels are moving effectively. Like fibroids, PCOS, endometriosis are estrogen heavy conditions, and excess estrogen sticks to your poo and you need to eliminate it. Now, if you're not pooing out properly, then you're recirculating that back into the body and it's just creating more havoc. So lots of good fiber, making sure that, you know, your liver is supported as well, because that plays a big part. So gut health as well.
Yeah, so lots of veggies, a little bit of fruit, obviously, not to increase too much of the sugar. And
yeah, so those are the things that I would say, if you've got those conditions, is cut out the wheat, cut out the cow's milk, increase your green veg especially, but increase your veg of, you know, wide variety obviously is important. Your good fats and also protein. People really like shy away from good quality protein.
Definitely. I mean, people shy away from, you know, obviously meat, which is a good source of protein if you are a meat eater. Fish, again, and if you're vegetarian, you really have to think about your protein, but it's really important.
Yes, absolutely. Sure.
And even more so if you're vegan. So yeah, 100%. So when it comes to, that's kind of when it comes to hormonal, when it comes to sperm for men, for instance, what are the, you know, things that they should look at straight away that they can implement?
So smoking and alcohol, cut them out completely. And then I get clients, oh, is it okay if I vape? No, it's not okay if you vape. That's still a chemical toxicity, you know, going into your body. Water, the amount of men who have like squash or fizzy drinks or coffee drinkers, and caffeine is known to really affect sperm health in a negative way. And then, you know, it's like, okay, I'll just have a pint of beer after work, or so it's the drinking culture, you know, all of that. Those are the things that definitely, if you can omit, then, you know, that's going to really help boost that sperm. And then in terms of like exercise, men can do good amount of exercise, but cycling is one which is a no-no. It's known to create heat around the genital areas, and for men they have to keep that area as cool as possible. So really sorry men, no saunas, no steam rooms, no jacuzzis, and no.
Oh wow, that's really interesting. I had no clue about that. So that's a big eye opener there, and obviously no spinning classes neither.
No, and if you're someone who has a sedentary job or is a sedentary lifestyle, and I saw this a lot with clients through lockdown, is, you know, they'd work through the day on one seat, get up for 30 minutes, have dinner, and park themselves on the sofa, another seat for like, and you'd be sedentary for about 12 to 16 hours. You've got to think that by sitting, you're squashing your balls. They need circulation, they need air. So walking and moving around is what's going to be of benefit here as well.
Okay, so swimming probably in cold water would be ideal.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, but and again, just a good, you know, clean plate of food. And again, men need the good fats as well, because you've got to make sure your testosterone levels stay at an adequate level as well.
Okay, and then you mentioned past traumas. What do you do with those? I mean, or how do you help your clients with past traumas? Because obviously stress is a massive one, and repressed stress is even worse, obviously.
Yeah.
So what do you do with them?
So I've got two therapies that I use. The biggest one I use is Reiki. Reiki is working with energy. It goes into your system to so I'm sort of like the messenger for the client through the energy, and I can help release trauma or reduce what, you know, they've been going through, and then through talking as well. And then the other therapy is called the Freedom Fertility Formula, and that is very much based on the whole emotional aspect of your journey. You know, a lot of people put the fertility journey at the forefront of their life, and it shouldn't be the forefront of your life. It should be a part of your life, and you continue with life. But there are so many things of past stuff that could happen. People are like, oh no, but what if? Oh no, but what if? Oh no, but what if? And it you know, it mustn't be like that.
I think there's a lot of pressure as well that is, you know, on couples, that the minute they get married or they're together, you know, they're expected to suddenly bring kids to life. And I suppose some people have, you know, seen things happen in their own homes or with friends or families that are, you know, making them doubt on how they're going to be as a parent. Can they really do it? And all that kind of stuff, which obviously has an influence. And I think people don't realize how much that has an influence in the whole I don't know, how to relax and let the body do its stuff.
No, absolutely. If you've, you know, witnessed abuse as a child between your parents or your parents on you, that will have an impact, because your thinking is, oh, but will I be like this when I have my children? And so just that thought is enough to put a block on conception, because the mind-body connection isn't there. So it's working on those sorts of traumas and emotions as well. And I forgot to mention, one of the other like tools I use is, so I use kinesiology to work out what back flower remedies you may need. They're like rescue remedy, but very, very effective on the emotional center.
Okay. So you work with your clients remotely now,
Yes.
thanks to COVID. How does that work remotely? I mean, I have seen you work before, and to me it sounds all, I'm going to say it, it all sounds like a little bit of voodoo, whatever. But how does that work to remotely feel the energy of people? Because that's, to me, it's fascinating, really.
Yeah. So energy travels like light and electricity travel, so that it's really difficult to explain how energy travels. I guess as healers, we are attuned to feeling and sensing. So one of the therapies is reflexology. It can be done on the hand. So I literally show my client where they need to work, they follow, and then they feed back to me saying, oh, Rakhee, it's sore here or it's sore there. I know where in the body that part is equating to, so I can ask them questions, say, like at the moment, a lot of people are having sensitivity around here. It's hay fever season, that's your diaphragm, your sinuses. So naturally, if you are a sufferer, it's going to be sore and tender. So then I know what's going on there, and then give them the remedies accordingly. With kinesiology, again, it's tapping into your energy and you know, working out what's the truth in your system, what's not the truth, and then working out where are the imbalances and helping to clear accordingly. So all of it's energetical work, but it's about me being able to connect to your energy in a way that I can't really explain, online. But it just works, because these last 2 years, like I said, are a complete testament to that. I've had 28 couples fall pregnant without me even touching them, face to face. So I know that it works.
That's amazing. So when you work with clients, how long, I know it might sound like how long is a piece of string, but how long does it normally take for someone? Obviously, it depends on where they're starting from, but generally, is it a month, 3 months, 6 months before they generally ready to start the process of conception? Or
so I ask clients to work with me for a minimum of 3 months. The life cycle of a healthy sperm and a healthy egg is 90 days. So what you release today matures in about 70 to 90 days. So working on all of your, the emotions, the nutrition, the hormone balancing over the next 3 months makes that egg and sperm a really, really strong egg and sperm, which then really improves your chances of them two meeting to create a baby. But it's also, like I said, previously, it's about having the womb health really healthy as well. So yes, you can have a strong egg and sperm, but if the womb health isn't in the place it needs to be, and the example I use is, if your womb is like an oven, if you open it up, put a potato in, close the door and think, right, it's going to cook without turning the dial on, it's not going to cook. So it's exactly the same with the womb, is we've got to turn that dial up to the temperature it needs to be. So this baby is cozy, because, if I said to you, do you want to go and live in an igloo for the next 9 months? I'm sure you wouldn't want to live in an igloo.
Well, we can talk about that.
So, bless this soul little baby. How can that live in an igloo for the next 9 months? It's going to shiver and not grow. But my other thing is get your nutrition to 150% before you conceive. Because remember, this baby can only take what you have, and it's going to suck the hell out of you. People don't realize that prepping prior to conception isn't just to get you pregnant, it's to help you through pregnancy, but postnatally as well. This baby has come out, it's reliant on you. You are like tired as anything. I've been there, twins, like, my God, I think we must have slept 1 hour every 3 hours or something like that. And you're just like, okay, I'm just like a walking zombie. If you have the right nutrition in you, you'll cope postnatally. If you don't, you're not saying you will, but you're at a higher chance of postnatal depression. So your food in your fertility journey and everything, everything we do in life it needs to be at the forefront of like everything.
It definitely does. And one of the things that I remember learning at the time is that the first year of a baby's life is the time where they develop their fat cells and everything else. So whatever you feed yourself while you breastfeed, if you do breastfeed, or even through pregnancy, and how you feed your baby to start with, is how is going to affect your baby's life as well. So it's not just you as a person, but also your baby eventually as well, that you're affecting by eating healthily or not. And obviously being a role model, which is something that I advocate a hell of a lot to your children. So if your children see you eat anything and everything because you're trying to get quick energy, why do you expect them to have a healthy eating habits afterwards as well? So
and this goes back to like your immune system. We know that our immune system, not just to prevent us with colds and coughs, but to protect us with everything, is in our digestive system. So if you as a woman has a low immune system prior to conception, you're not going to build it up through pregnancy. Therefore, unfortunately, you're risking your baby developing a low immune system while it's in gestation. And then you're risking that baby, bless it, to have childhood asthma or eczema or, those conditions, because it just hasn't had the ability to fight it.
That's really something, yeah, that people need to think about as well. Definitely. So, interesting. What are your top 3 tips for anyone struggling? What should they really look at? Obviously, nutrition.
Yeah, nutrition. Don't be fobbed off by the GP. Don't say, when they say to you, oh, your tests are normal, don't be fobbed off by that, because what's normal for normal isn't normal for fertility. I have seen that so many times. And when clients say that, I'm like, I want the paper results. I need to see the figure. So if you don't know what you're looking at, find someone who can help you read those results. And it's the biggest thing I can say, but it's really hard to implement, is if you are struggling, don't stress about it. But it's such a vicious circle, because
it is hard to do.
It is. And one thing that I see in a lot of my couples, and that is also part of the problem, is sex becomes a baby making exercise. They are literally just, okay, I'm ovulating, so make sure you're home tonight type thing. No, keep that passion going, because if you've lost that passion in your womb, your womanly stuff, it just literally switches off the whole reproductive system. So you want to conceive a baby in a, like, I'm going to say, an area which is full of fireworks, love, passion. That's when the baby is going to conceive. But I get it. I've been there, done it myself, which is why I'm saying, don't let it become a chore. And if you can't have sex for 1 month, okay, it's not the end of the world. But get your tests done. Don't get fobbed off by the GP, and try and bring down that stress as much as possible, but look into the whole lifestyle. Don't just look at the physical elements of your journey. Look into, like I said, nutrition, emotion. What are you struggling with, and where can you see you need the help, and get that help?
So when you say don't get fobbed off by your GP, does that mean that you can actually ask your GP to do some extra tests, or will it automatically have to go private for extra testing?
Some of it your GP can absolutely do. Unfortunately, a lot of it has to be done privately. So, for example, most GP surgeries will only test for 3 out of the 5 thyroid elements. Yeah. And the 2 missing ones are so important to know about, because the 3 that have been tested may come back within the fertile range, but the 2 that have been missed off, if they're off the charts, they themselves can cause an issue, but you've been none the wiser, because your GP has said, oh, no, your thyroid is fine, you don't need to work on it. So it's worth pushing.
If you've been, if you manage to get referred to a specialist, would they be able to do that extra test without going private? Yeah, they would.
Yes, absolutely, they would. And sometimes, again, the problem with our NHS now, more so than about 5-7 years ago, is if you're under 35, the woman is under 35, you have to have been trying for 2 years before anything is tested for. And if you're over 35, it's a year. So they've doubled it, because it used to be a year for under 35s and 6 months for over 35s. Now, we know that with age, fertility absolutely does start to decline. And 2 years is a very long time for, if you've got an issue, for it to get worse before something is done about it. So if you're in a capacity to push for private testing or something like that, absolutely do it. Don't hang around, but don't let your doctor, even, like, if you've got symptoms of certain things, get that checked and sorted out ASAP. And even if it means not going down the fertility line, but the gynecological line, do that. Okay,
that's great advice, because obviously waiting 2 years or even a year when you know you want something has the emotional aspect related to it, which obviously then prevents you naturally to conceive as well. So.
Yeah, and period pain is one of the biggest ones. I would say, please, look, period pain isn't normal. It is a sign that something is going on. that will have an impact on your conception. So if you are someone who is struggling with period pain, obviously do the lifestyle changes on that, because that will help you. Cutting out the wheat and the milk and the sugar and all that will help alleviate, but get that investigated sooner rather than later. You know, period pain is not normal. Any pain is not normal.
Yeah. Well, I was very lucky in my life never to have period pain, but I know so many people and so many of my friends who were in bed for a few days or with massive pain. And, you know, we think it's normal because most people struggle in one way or another. So you don't realize that actually it is not normal.
No.
And I suspect if you go with period pain to the GP, they just tell you to woman up.
No, they'll just prescribe you painkillers, but don't, you really want to try and get to the root cause of it, because as much as painkillers may help you to get on with your life, it's literally a plaster on the wound. If as soon as you take that plaster off, that wound is going to weep again. So getting to the root cause of why, you know, you've got your period pains is going to be ideal. And the other thing to really note as well, which ties into the fertility, is if you've got exceptionally heavy bleeding, you know, you're bleeding for about 6, 7, 8 days, quite heavy, that will make you anemic. Iron is needed for fertility, and when you're low in iron, it makes you bleed more. So again, that has a vicious circle as well. So getting that checked is going to be really important as well. That's
really good advice. I know I was anemic all my a big chunk of my life, and because of heavy periods, thankfully, as I said, without too much pain, or no pain at all. But yeah, I never thought of that as such. So
yeah, no, iron stores need to be at a really good level for conception.
Yeah. Okay. That's fantastic. So how do people get in touch with you? What's the process of working with you? If someone wants and needs more advice and help along their journey?
So I offer an initial free 15-minute call that can be booked via my website. It is going under construction at the moment, but you can still book a call. That's www.fbab.co.uk. And I'm on Instagram under Fertility Bump and Beyond. I'm on Facebook under Fertility Bump and Beyond. Then from the free 15-minute call, it might be that I need you to get more testing done, or will recommend certain things, you know, that you may need to do. From that, we can book in for a full consultation. I go through a very, very lengthy, detailed consultation. It's 2 to 2.5 hours long. Yeah, because for me, it's like I need to know everything that's going on. It's like I say, it's just not your physical stuff. You know, I'll ask you about your stress, your hydration, your bowels, your sleep. Sleep is something, again, we all take for granted, and sleep or lack of will massively impact your fertility. And then from that, I will devise, if you want to continue working with me, I do a 12-week program, but it's bespoke to you. So it's not something that's generic that, you know, you take off the shelf and to have elements. It's bespoke because no two clients are the same in their journey, and I've got to tweak it so it works for you.
Okay, that sounds very interesting, and I know lots of clients have been very successful working with you as well. So that's definitely worthwhile mentioning as well. So have you had lots of one babies, twins, triplets? What's
yes, no triplets yet.
Okay.
Lots of singletons, but last year I think I had something like 5 couples end up with twins, and for me, being obviously a mum to twins as well, it's such a like special moment, you know, to see that, and you know, especially where they've all struggled for so many years, and then they've been blessed with 2 in one go. So yeah, no, it's really, really lovely and assuring to see that happens. But you know, for me, it's like whether it's 1, 2, 3, whatever, the fact that they've reached that end goal where they've been struggling for so long is just that cherry on the cake for me.
Oh, 100%. So from all the clients you've worked for so far, what's the longest someone had to wait to finally get pregnant? So from the moment they started trying to the moment they had their baby, or they felt pregnant, what's the longest, if you can remember?
I think for one couple it was 8 years.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so they tried, had multiple IVFs, and not just here, they tried like internationally, because the European IVF clinics have a better report and success rate than the UK. It's got something to do with our governing laws and how they test and medicines and whatnot. Yeah, and they tried like various, clinics and stuff. And there's actually, she kept miscarrying. It was a sperm issue. No one picked up it was a sperm issue, because I guess the other thing, when you have IVF, they're like, oh, it's fine, we're going to wash the sperm and pick out what we need. But what they don't look at, and I show this to all my clients, so a normal sperm test looks for a head, a body, and tail. But what they don't look at is, if I'm looking at you right now, internally you have a bleed, but I can't see that externally. So until they don't do internal investigations on the sperm, which you won't get on the NHS, it has to be like privately done, then they'll know that, right, okay, there's more deeper sperm issues. I got them to look into that, and the next cycle they went for, it worked.
Oh, wow, fantastic.
It's so, because that I know energetically they can do it, but they, couples, by the time they get to 3 or 4 IVF cycles, you're exhausted. You are financially exhausted, you're physically exhausted, and you're emotionally exhausted.
Yeah.
And there's only so much your liver can take, because that gets a massive battering. So for me, it's looking at every little bit and trying to push the client, say, look, you do need this test, go and get this test done. You may have to pay for it, but at least then we can cross out or rule out or whatever that is an issue or it's not an issue.
Yeah. So just like a benchmark for people that might be listening, obviously I know IVF is very expensive as such. All those testings, what's kind of a ballpark figure when it comes to all those tests? Like, how much would they need to add to the whole process to get those testing done?
It's not cheap, unfortunately. So like the deeper sperm test, you're looking at, and again, it varies clinic per clinic, but you're looking at something like between £400 and £500 for that one test. Some of the more expensive tests, you could be looking at, 1,000 or so. It's the test like the laparoscopy, so it's where they have to do keyhole surgery on the woman, and they delay because they think of that as the completely like last resort. But if you can get that pushed for earlier rather than later, again, that will identify. I don't actually know how much that costs privately, but I would imagine it would be a fair chunk. But generally you can get that pushed for on the NHS. But yeah, you could be looking at an additional anywhere between £300 to £1,000 extra for like further testing and stuff. Okay,
well, that at least you know what to expect as well, which is quite an interesting one. But I suppose for anyone going through or looking at going through IVF, a little bit, they just need to count that extra in, and that will make a massive difference.
And I firmly believe that if you are able to get that extra testing done, that really can be the decider fact whether you need IVF, or actually can you make some changes that will then counteract the issue and bang, you're pregnant. And a lot of the cases, it is that actually you don't need the IVF, but if you can work on whatever it is that needs fixing, you're more or less sorted.
That is massive, because obviously, one, you work on your health, which is a bonus. But secondly, as well, having seen people going through the IVF process, it's such a invasive process as well. And as you say, it's exhausting. And, it is very heavy on the body as such, that if you can avoid it, by doing some extra testing, and obviously making some changes accordingly would make such a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, the work you do, the work I do in terms of our nutrition, we both know that it's not just for whatever you're using it for. It's lifelong changes.
Yeah.
It's something that you can do continuously. It's not a short-term fix. There's massive long-term gains for it. But it's just, I like talking to a client this morning, and she literally went cold turkey on sugar, and she had the headaches and stuff. And I just said, she goes, I know all of this, but sometimes it requires someone like us to hold that person's hand and guide them through it. And I guess, you know, that's where you and I are fortunate, and our clients are fortunate that, you know, we can do that with them.
Oh, definitely, 100%. And I agree with you. You know, if you feel the benefits of what you went through, of changing your nutrition, your lifestyle, etc., keep doing it. Don't stop the minute you got your prize of, you know, having a baby. It's just not worth it. So yeah.
Yeah. Especially if you don't want to go back to, like, say, you know, those painful periods or the menstrual conditions, or the bloating just before your period, or PMT, or mood swings, or, you know, the list can go on and on and on.
Yeah. But I suppose during the 9 months that someone is pregnant, they forget.
Yeah, I mean, I've got clients who absolutely continued with the changes that they made because they saw the positives of it before they got pregnant, and they really enjoyed it. Yeah, but so, you know, some clients, when I do message them after, they're like, yeah, I need to get back onto it again, type thing. But I guess that's just life as well.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you very much, Rakhee. It was a fascinating talk, and I'm sure that people who are going through some struggles when it comes to fertility will massively benefit from this episode. So thank you very much for your time. And for anyone looking to have a chat with Rakhee, the details of how to get in touch will be in the description of this video on YouTube. And if you like the show and you want to get alerted for all next episodes, press the subscribe button, and I will see you all next month. Thank you very much.